Hello Tubesters, it's me Gav and welcome to another one of my videos. Today it was a look at these products. That's the Andrea paint sets, red and blue. The blue I've had very recently, the red, as it's quite tatty, I've had, I don't know, 6 months more, I don't know. Originally I was going to do this figure as a tutorial. I got probably about halfway through, and as I say, I can't edit things, I can't speed things up. I have no idea where I find on my computer, it's only a normal Microsoft thing, but I can't find where I can do a voiceover, you know, where you obviously mute your mic on your camera and speak over it, which would be the ideal thing to do, and I just can't find it to do that. I got halfway through that figure and it was just, oh, you know, no, it's not working. So I'm going to have another approach. I didn't want to do it this way particularly, but I'll literally break it down into minute segments. So we'll paint some trousers, or we'll paint a jacket, paint a face, probably all on one figure obviously, and then we, you know, I'll release the videos, you know, whether every day or, you know, well, we'll try and work that one out anyway. So anyway, I wanted to try these Andrea blue set out particularly, and I just happen to have obviously this French Imperial Guardsman for the 100 days roughly, and I thought, no, let's see how these work, because I'm really impressed with the red set, and I couldn't really see all the other colours being that much of a problem to work with, or, you know, disenchanted with. So we'll go down to the bench, we'll have a look at these and see what we think. Just to stress, got no connection with Andrea, I bought these myself. I can't even remember where I bought the first box, the red set, from. It's been a while ago now. The blue set I got from Hysterex Agents. In these obviously turbulent times, got this out to me within 24 hours. You know, didn't ask for it for 24, but they just got it out to me. So really impressed with that service, and I will be using these guys again. They do figures, they do parts for dioramas, so go check Hysterex Agents out. They're based down in the, is it Dover, I believe, Folkestone, in the UK, so right on the south coast. So guys, let's go down to the bench, we'll have a look at these, and I'll have, you know, we'll look at the figure, sorry, and look at the colours and just see how they've worked. Right guys, thanks for joining me at the bench. Sorry for all the squinting in the intro part of the video. I was trying all these different light setups in different angles on a crowded workbench just to see which worked best for me. And these particular ones are all literally shooting straight into my face. So, right, these are our blue set. Funnily enough, blue. These are our red set. As you can see, it's quite knocked about, that one. Flip top, you can obviously open them out for the sides to empty them out if you want. Shut that for a second so we don't confuse matters. You get, which a lot of the paint companies do, just a, you know, a close-up photograph really. How to use your blues. They use, and obviously at the back it's just figures that they do. Andrea do produce their own figures as well, and several publications. These say that they're brush paintable and airbrushing capable as well. I haven't used them through my airbrush, so I'm not going to tell you on that one. Yes, this is right. Try and get it back in the box, Gav. Oh, there we go. Right. So if you can see here, well, we'll go here. Base, first light, second light, third light, first shadow, second shadow. The only one I didn't use was the third light, because I don't like the bright highlights too much on my darker blues. But that would be your base. Now when you put the base down, you might need to put a couple of coats down depending on what you're overcoating. I use a grey primer, so you tend to find you might need a couple of coats on that. Then it really is just fire and forget with these guys. They are beautiful paints to work with. You still get that matte look without it being as hard to work with, say, as a scale 75. Don't get me wrong, I like scale 75. I've got several of the sets that I use, especially on my large figures, but I use these now on my large figures as well as wargaming figures. They really are, for me, great. I've got no problem with Vallejo. I've got no problem with the Vallejo. It's just a lot of them, like the blues and that, have a slight shine to them. If you're going to use them on a figure like a bust that I'm not going to be varnishing, then it can be a problem. And I also, even when I'm doing the War Games figures, I don't know. I mean, I've used Vallejos for years, don't get me wrong. They are cheaper, obviously, than I believe than the Andrea and the scale 75. But the greens, the blue, well, some of the greens, definitely the reds and the blues particularly, they have that shine to them. And this is in the model colour. No matter how much you mix them up, and in my usage of them, before anybody says different, obviously we're all different, and we might like one product more than the other. I've got a ton of Vallejos. I've been using them, painting the last few days on commission work. But I do find, since I got the reds and now the blues, these are nice paints to work with. As I say, I can't say anything about airbrushing. I'll go in how I've put and I've just used a layered method with this figure that I'll show you in a minute. It's not obviously glazed or blended or anything. This is our final highlight. Again, nice colour in itself. It's just that for this particular figure I didn't particularly want to go there. That's our first shadow, so our dark one. What you'll find is, if you do use these products, is you might go to your favourite particular paint, if that makes sense, out of the range that works for you. I do that with a red set. I've only used the blue so far on this one figure, so I can't say if I'll be skipping methods. But I'm absolutely delighted with the two boxes I've had so far. So the reds I've had for about 6 months, maybe less. Blues literally came through the post. I'll give you a quick squiz at the reds if I haven't mixed them all up, because I get these out quite frequently. Again, that's our base. You won't see probably under the camera that there's that much difference in them, but there obviously is when you... I won't get the card out that shows you how to do it, just like the blue one, except for in red. Again, you've got the easy markings there to follow, should you get confused. Especially if you're painting at your bench with a beer in your hand. And again, I use this one, in fact I've probably got this one in the wrong order, yes. Let's just move this over. Right, so that's your dark red, your deep, your shadow, and this is your secondary. I use this secondary shadow more than I do. Sorry, this is number 5, so I've got them out of order. But anyway, this is the lighter of the shadow 2 colours, and I use that on my ABs 18mm more than I do the very dark one. And I use the very dark one on the 28mm and above. So let's have a look at this figure. Let's see if we can get in a bit closer. This is a Perry 28mm. Probably going to show up all the bits I've missed now, but that's the look you're going for. I mean, there's nothing in the painter's guide that says you have to put, say, darkest. A lot of us do it. We go from dark to light, but you'll find with this one, if you can obviously work once you put your base on, put up your first 2 highlights, and then push pop. Let's see if we've got a pointy stick. And then just pop your shadows into the deepest recesses, obviously the darkest one into the deepest recesses, and so on. Put it under there for the shadow areas. Usually I've got a bit of red there, just as it's under the camera. Again, he's looking a hell of a lot more brighter under all these lights, and he's not that bright, believe me. It probably looks the same as this U-boat commander here, and that's and they've got the very top highlight on that, so mine's actually darker. So don't fear that it's giving you an ultra bright look, because it's not. It's actually quite dark. I don't know if I can put a shadow on him just to... No, that's not going to work. About that, I've been after lights all this time, and now I'm trying to make him darker. But yeah, and obviously I've used the Andrea Reds set for this as well. There we go. So I thoroughly recommend these Andreas. I bought these. I've got to be careful because it's off the top of my head. Let's get back a bit. I probably paid £20 for these, and although the postage was a bit of a killer, I presume if I'd have bought some more, I'd have probably got cheaper postage. I'll be definitely getting the yellows, and more than likely the greens as well. They do other bits and pieces. I think they do some like German World War II camo sets, you know, Waffen SS and Zeltbahn and all that type of stuff. But I was mainly after the basic colours really, that they can cross over from my wargame commission painting to obviously my larger figures. But I use these. Oh, sorry, I haven't used the blues yet, but I know I'm going to have no problem after painting this test figure. The reds, they go down lovely, no shine to them. You know, this is on my, you know, say that Native American bust you've seen me painting. Absolutely no problem with them whatsoever. I really thoroughly would recommend them. As I say, I can't remember price wise. I'm not going to start rambling on about, you know, prices of Vallejos and that, because I honestly can't remember. If price is an issue with you, then obviously you go with what you can afford. But I use those reds quite a bit. I use them obviously because I water my paint down a fair bit. They're quite, you know, I use it quite sparingly. I will be looking, presume we're out of all this craziness in a couple of months' time. I'll be looking to buying a few single bottles that I use more than others, but I'll definitely be using these on my Napoleonics. I've got no problem using the scale 75 on them as well, because I like their blue sets. As I've said to you before, there's 2 or 3 blues particularly, but I don't think that there's any difference between the Andrea blue for Napoleonics and the scale 75 if you're painting Napoleonics. Which I do a lot of obviously, but I'll be using these across the board, anything that I need blue on. I believe they do, I might be shooting my mouth off, but I do believe they do a couple of fantasy boxes as well, where you might need that brighter pigment. And also these are more of you know, dark blues, light blues. The scale 75 ones, they include like a lot more like a turquoisey blues and purple, so you probably get more in that. But if you're not used to working with that type of paint, it is extremely matte, and it can be difficult to work with, especially if you're a war gamer. You know, it's up to you. Try them all and see what you think. But if you're a bust painter or a larger painter, obviously that's different. So I've got no problems with the scale 75 range whatsoever, but I am more or less drifting towards using these as my go-to paints now, I think. So yeah, this is the Andrea colours set, what are we saying, blue paint set, red paint set, it says it on the box, and I think the boxes also stand up quite well to flipping the lid in and out, keep the dust off your paints. So guys, blue, red, I'll give you a report back on the yellows and greens whenever I get them. That could be a while away yet, the way we're going. So take care of yourselves. I hope this is some use to you. Up and coming videos, we've got some 18mm naps to show you. We'll hopefully show you some progress on the Becca's Command group, which I have been cutting bits away and doing bits and pieces. I've also got the 2 scale modelling projects I've got on the go at the moment. The Sea Fury's finally had some varnish on and looks to be getting moving on to decals and weathering on that. And obviously the LAV C2 Command vehicle, 1 in 35 scale, that's also undergone the varnishing process, and we'll be starting to put the few decals on that's needed there and do the weathering. So guys, you take care of yourselves, keep putting your videos up, keep watching other people's videos. It all keeps the world turning in these dark times, and we will catch each other very, very soon on another video. Cheers.